So, you're gonna go charging in to save your lady single-handedly, I take it? Dave asks. If I have to, Simone replies, only granting the smallest of smirks. She sits on the bed where she has spent so much time recovering from bodily injuries since accepting the chief of security position aboard the Quipchap. Dave works away to seal up the Terran's sliced-in half forearm while running general health monitoring scans. Well, there ain't any way that I'm gonna convince you to sit this out from here on out, but at least try not to lose more pieces of yourself out there, alright? Dave said. Like, we can get spare parts, I guess, but let's not leave that as permission to let our enemies play you like a veggie samurai game knockoff. 'Kay, dude? Simone closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. I'll try, she nods. The lights on the spherical autosurgeon flicker in an odd way. No, brah, I'm serious. This is doctor's orders. Don't get turned into mincemeat. Promise me you'll come back with your little lady wife and thrive on the cool doctor drugs I give you, dude. Dave insists. The redhead's eyes open and looks at Dave with only a little surprise. You sure you want me to do that, Dave? She questions. I can promise that I'll do everything I can to make that happen, especially for the kids, but shit happens, man. If I make you a promise and end up not being able to keep it, would you be okay? The bot takes a moment to respond. Would I be okay if my star patient was atomized? Well, technically yes and no. This autosurgeon will persist and move on as normal. That's like my function and shit. But the fabricated Dave personality will be rendered pointless to maintain, and will be axed like the French royalty. Kind of a bummer, but again, that's just how I function, Dave explains. Simone looks over at the newly installed mirror near Dave, and back at the bot. You saying your life is dependent on mine? Simone asks. Hey, don't get it twisted. Remember, I ain't actually alive, just a very convincing lie, like what capitalism promises. Speaking of which, I've gotten along very well with that Sonla lady. Good head on those shoulders, when it's not choking down on dino Dave says, before being interrupted. I think you're real, Dave, Simone assures. Thanks. Guess that means I've been doing my job well, the bot replies. Anyway, Sonla's had to visit me twice since these ships hooked together. Let me tell you, I had to look up theoretical medicine procedures because I've never seen so much. You know what was also a very convincing lie? Simone cuts off, not allowing Dave to derail what she wants to say to him. Me telling myself when I was at my lowest that things would get better. That I just needed to take a step at a time and keep moving. But I never believed that, not really, because whenever I started actually thinking I was succeeding... Simone clenched her remaining fist. You know what dust is, right? She asks. Oh boy, yeah. Not only do I know what that is, but, like, I can literally see that it was probably your go-to, huh? Simone nods. One of the most addicting substances for Terrans. It literally makes you feel bliss. As though your hurting past, your anxiety and all that shit, doesn't exist, while all your mental and physical pleasures are increased 1,000-fold. I had a lot of failed starts because every time I started becoming sober, all I wanted to do was to sink back into that bliss. My dealer at the time didn't make things any easier either. That bitch, she elaborates. True escapism from reality, a hard thing to leave behind. What gave you that push you needed? Dave asks, in a far more serious tone. A mental breakdown. The thought of my dad knowing where I was and what I was doing seeped in before a session I was about to pay for, and, well, the next thing I remember is stowing away on a cargo ship, wanting to be anywhere rather than that hub of filth that I had been stuck to. The initial withdrawal was the worst part. It was weeks of headaches, vomiting, and a few visits to a charity clinic. But to this day, even thinking of that dust shit sometimes makes me involuntarily shake, and that familial pull on the brain kicks up wanting to find some, she answers. Hence why you turned to drinking. Why I leaned into it heavily, yes, Simone says before sighing. Vin has been incredible help with all that. I know it was part of your job, but thanks for pushing me to seek help. Of course, Dave responds, as though in deep thought. We are all so proud of you, She-Hulk. I know, and I'm proud of myself too. Not everything can be fixed with time, but as long as I'm moving forward, I'll be happy, the redhead replies earnestly. That's the spirit. So, not to sound insensitive or some shit, but it felt like you were bringing it up to make a point or something. Was I tripping on that or what? Simone lets out a soft laugh. Regardless if I felt like I was lying to myself, it didn't mean it couldn't be true. I just had to act on it and not give up. Dave might be a lie to you, but at what point does that lie develop into truth? I think it may already have. You just haven't realized it yet, she explains. Well, I'll let you believe that, Geppetto. Doubt I can experience anything like what you did and cast myself off to somewhere more groovy, so don't be too disheartened when Dave is eventually flushed. No, I'm going to miss the hell out of you, Dave, Simone states firmly. Like any of my friends, when you eventually kick the bucket, I'm probably going to cry. You've done so much for me, and I know it's easy to see it all as just part of your functions, but you know there was a bit more to it than that. Before the machine can respond, the medbay door opens, granting an entrance for Seven, Thorn, and Devon. Thorn carries a slightly dented box case in his grasp, wasting no time moving up next to Simone. We can try looking into getting a cloned hand for you after, but seeing we won't have the time for it, I figured you can borrow one of my spares, he says, before opening the case to reveal a folded up cybernetic arm. It's blunt in design, seeming to prioritize durability and function over going for realism. If properly covered in quality synthetic skin, it could probably pass as a slightly swollen arm, but the recently added bronze-coloured armor plating would have to be removed in order to achieve that. Not caring about it looking like her old hand or not, Simone touches it with her remaining digits. Sure, yeah, if it can be installed in time, but this is a whole arm, right? Does that mean I'm gonna have to lose a bit more to have it put on? Simone asks, kinda not keen on chopping off her meticulously crafted musculature. Normally, yes, especially if in a rush, but between your autosurgeon and Devon here, we can just replace your elbow and forearm. You all right with that? Thorn replies, as his growing cybernetic eye gives the stump a glance. Simone also looks at her wound in consideration. It still wasn't ideal for her on a surface level, however her wife is in severe danger. She needs Simone at her best, and Simone would trade all of her body for that Callie in a heartbeat. Do it, she grants. Devon nods and takes the case from Thorn. I can get this cut down, but it will require being surgically attached permanently, meaning you'll need a whole other procedure to remove it, on top of what will be needed for a clone replacement, he informs, as he sets the case down, before taking out the arm itself and his tools. Ooh, that's cool. Well, if I installed a synthetic lung in this woman, then I can throw a sick-ass robot arm on her too, Dave cheers, as he begins to prepare for such a surgery. Since it's one a man, it should be compatible with your power armor systems too, meaning you'll have some kick-ass training wheels while you jump at the walls, right, Devon? Thorn says, as he plants his hands on his hips and looks back over his shoulder. Assuming I don't accidentally cut or properly reroute something critical, then yeah, should be easy to use along with all the bells and whistles, Devon mumbles, as he operates with a professional's grace and speed to properly modify the appendage. I am here for moral support, Ort, Seven announces, as they move out of everyone's way. Thanks, guys, Simone says to everyone. Thorn turns his gaze back onto the redhead, his expression softening. Well, with an injury like that, I would normally say you ought to let the rest of us carry your torch, but with Chak in the position she's in, ain't no way we get in your way. So we might as well prepare you as much as we can, he says with a slow nod. Just make sure we're not dressing you up for a funeral, yeah? Simone huffs in amusement. Dave said basically the same thing, and I'll say what I told him. I'll do everything I can with all I have to make that happen, she replies. Devin quickly moves up, grabs Thorne's arm, and plugs a small device into it, which the older Terran allows without protest. Borrowing a copy of some of your software, Devin explains, before removing the device and going back to the divided arm project. Does that mean hack shit now? Simone jests. No, not without AI implementation at least. No time to relocate and install that shit, Devin answers straight up. I'm only focusing on physical defensive and offensive features. Sweet, Simone chuckles, as her foot begins to tap the ground in nerves. Is there anything you would like for me to prepare air in the kitchen before we exit FTL? Seven offers. Not really hungry, Seven, but thank you, Simone replies gently, though after a moment she lifts her remaining hand over towards the other side of the room, where her armor and jacket sit. Actually, could you bring me my jacket, please? She requests. Without a moment of hesitation, Seven rolls over to carefully pick up the jacket and bring it right over to the Terran. As she accepts it and lays it in her lap, Simone sifts through its inner pockets. Ah, shoot. The one time I didn't think to pack it, she grumbles. Seven's cranium perks up upon realization. Cocoa slab pies, is that what you are looking for? If so, I can retrieve Eve 1 from our stock, they say. The redhead smirks. Sure. Actually... She rethinks what she wants. You said you were working on your own version. Bring me one of those if you can. Seven's three eyes blink in a circle before nodding. Of course, they agree, before zooming out to fulfill the task. Thorne raises an eye tuft and waits for the bot to be well into the mess hall before pointing at the jacket. It's in that pocket, he informs. I know, Simone whispers with a small smile. Thorne chuckles and slightly shakes his head. After a few standard seconds pass by, the old man crosses his arms. You're a good person, Red, he says. I try, Simone shrugs. And always succeeds. Look, now might not be the time, but I'm sorry I didn't do more to help you. You know, when I had a better chance to. Thorne apologizes. And although I don't see myself having done different, I understand if you hold it against me for not telling you sooner about my relation to you and your mother. After thinking for a few moments, Simone sighs. I get it. I don't like it and I disagree to an extent, but I get it. I think there's going to be a time I'll need to think. But as it stands now, I don't want you out of my life. When it comes down to it, I do trust you. You did help me when I needed it, and I likely wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for you. I recognize that, and hope you do too, Simone responds. Right now, though, I ask that you make up for any mistakes you may have made and continue to help me save my wife. Thorne doesn't speak, instead simply giving a nod in response. Almost ready, Devin announces. I'm already good to go, Dave boasts. Thorne tilts his head over to where Simone's plasma cult rests. Then, mind if I reclaim that old girl for one last tinkering, while your own bit's added on? He asks. Promise I'll give her back once you're standing again. Fuck yeah you can, Simone permits. We must relocate, Finn says. It's clear this location is not compromised, but also being actively targeted. Additionally, Mrs. Donner requires proper medical attention. Oh, true. Though, would it also be smart to fully barricade ourselves in and hope comms are restored to notify security and the Union of our situation? The man seemed to want us to leave, which makes me hesitant to do what he wanted, the gym owner proposes, as he helps Donner's arm in a makeshift sling, to reduce the pain of general movement. That's certainly an option as well, and you have a point, Vin grants. Still, we know for certain that foes are inbound to this location, as we speak regardless. If we are swift, we can get out of the way, and perhaps into proper protection. I see what you're saying, sir, but you're practically saying we should run through an active war zone. The fighting may not be near us, but guns are probably a bit trigger-happy, the female Mick argues. And no offense to the kid, but the effect he has on people might make those triggers extra twitchy. Vin shifts his weight, seeing the wisdom in that. That is fair. It seems there is no perfect option before us, he concedes. Wait, there's a close-by location we can go. Donna grunts, as she bites back the pain with standard pain meds that were on hand. It's bigger, more secure, easier to hide in, and probably more people to help. The high school. That is close, the Mick grants. But what about the kid? Blanket, Donna says bluntly. Cover him. I suppose that would work, the Mick lady says in consideration. Everyone glances around to gauge thoughts on one another's faces, seeming to have similar feelings on it. Then it's settled. Pack up light and let's get moving, the gym owner says, as he claps his hands together once, jump-starting people to move. Jamie has his plumes lowered from the sharp sound, though seems more interested in perceiving what the people are suddenly doing. But, Castle, Aragorn, he says to Vin, while his towel points up at the memorial picture of the two redheads. I'm afraid we, need to move to another castle, Jamie, Vin responds, as he begins looking around for a suitable blanket to cover the boy in. Jamie's expression sours in disappointment. Hey, Donna calls to him before he can cry or throw a fit. Remember the second movie? Aragorn and his friends had to move castles too? It's just like that, sweetie, she reassures. The toddler's thrum picks up in excitement. Helm deep! He cheers giddily towards SJ, flapping his wings with great anticipation. The Wataf nods to keep their sibling in a positive mood, though they are still just as terrified as they've been. Vin returns with a heat-retaining blanket, though as he does so, the Mick woman approaches as well. Do you need someone to help carry the kids? She asks, with clear hesitation from the Minarian's encoding's influence. Ah, right, yes. If you are offering that, would be greatly appreciated, miss, Vin replies, realizing he has not been properly introduced. I'm Junie, an assistant personal trainer here. Yeah, I can help. Although the effect the kid has is disturbing, I think I'll be able to handle it. The blanket should help with that too, she replies. Good to meet you, Junie. Your help is most welcomed. I'm Lavaticus Tronti of the Four Family Vin, but Dr. Vin is a suitable shorthand. The Noxie introduces himself. Both of the children are well-mannered. SJ won't bite, but Jimmy might for a sense of security. Vin turns to the Minarian child. Don't bite her, Jamie. All right? Jamie's big eyes look up at the Mick, and stares at the stranger incredulously, as though checking for another case of discovering a bad guy. But he soon smiles and nods, satisfied with deducing this person as someone who's at the very least okay. Thank you, Jamie. Now let's get you wrapped up, Vin encourages, as he cloaks the kid. Fastening the blanket around him, Junie kneels down and carefully takes the toddler into her arms, unless the scared Wataf crawl up her arm and rest on her shoulders before standing. With the gym owner assisting, Donna is up on her feet and moving as well. Zroom walks up to Junie's side, which causes the Mick to take a half step away. She's exceptionally trained. What occurred earlier was simply her neutralizing the threat. As the one carrying the kids, you are the safest from her as you can be, Vin assures. I figured. Still kinda scary, Junie chuckles nervously. But she did likely save our lives, so I'll trust she won't try anything. The group then takes stock one last time, before they move to the sealed door. Before anyone gets close, the gym owner takes point. He slowly manually opens the door and takes quick peeks down both sides of the hallway. "Looks clear," he says before stepping out. Half expecting it to suddenly not be clear, the others slowly followed him out. "Know the way from here?" Donna checks, knowing she's the slowest out of the bunch. "I do," Junie nods, before taking the lead rightwards. Panting, Chuck presses her back against a branched-out corridor wall. Despite the life-saving aid of her power armor, her endurance was not unlimited to constant running. Finding places to hide from the seemingly endless structure proves far more difficult than what one would assume. There's no obvious vents or maintenance hatches that she noticed, and the security systems seem to always track her down for more giant crustaceans to bear down on. Her only saving grace has been her nimble speed, though the striking claws have concerning speed that has already caused a few close calls. Even now, she knows her time to recover is extremely limited. In the distance, she can hear the skittering of chitin on the hard floors in the distance, only getting more intense. "I'm alive, Simone. I'll stay alive. She whispers under her breath, before feeling a sudden faintness. Bracing herself more to the wall, she feels her twin hearts racing faster than ever before. Even with her suit, her legs start to feel numb again, her instincts and body deciding she must falter for the rest of the hypothetical herd to flee. No, I won't. I must keep going, she stammers to herself. I'll survive this. I must. I will, she mentally argues with her instincts. Hearing a sudden approaching clatter, she realizes her time for rest is nearly spent, yet her legs once again stubbornly refuse to move. Come on, Chocolata Thatch. You walked in that Deathworlder bar. Is this really so different to your instincts? She internally argues. You mated with a powerful Terran, married her. You adopted a venomous child and another, who you're literally encoded to be fearful of. You led an army into war, braved the front lines, and chased your father into the unknown. This is nothing. You can do this. Just get moving. Move! Pushing herself off the wall, Chuck feels her hooves struggle to take steps, but step they do. One after another, she slowly picks up speed down the narrow path, away from the loudest direction of pursuers. Focused ahead, she's thankful to see no crabs blocking her way, though her attention is drawn as the right side wall changes from solid gold to clear windows. On the other side, she sees a titanic giant open expanse, within the entire floor of hip-high water, and easily millions of Malkite individuals minding their business throughout. They cluster in groups, primarily around gloriously blue and white marble variants that stand at least twice the mass of the usual Malkite Chuck has seen. From the brief context she picks up in her running, she guesses those are the males of the crustacean species. Just as she starts to wonder if this is the center of this place, she trips up as the floor unexpectedly shakes. Rolling along the ground, she gets back up as soon as she can, before seeing the masses of claws and screeches far down the passage, heading right for her. No time to consider what just caused the quake disruption. She picks back up on her flight. Out over the space around the Malkite homeworld, a battered and barely standing central fleet holds defensive positions against the incredible might of the unprecedented numbered attacking Cali fleets. Simone stands at the helm of the Quipchap as it comes out of FTL, along with the rest of the reinforced FSA fleets. Initially viewing the status of the central fleet, she looks past them, her gaze at the planet's oceanic surface. It's a lot of ocean to scan, but she doesn't care. She'll find Chuck. This is High Admiral Chognook, speaking to the fleets of Sin Montaz and her people. Sin Montaz has been liberated, and her treasonous king deposed, by the order of Queen Chocolata Motaz and Prince Bromelata Motaz. Halt all aggression and surrender your leadership. Chuknuk's voice broadly broadcasts with a commanding vigour that Simone finds almost shocking. After a few moments, the combat appears to, at the very least, pause. Chuknuk no doubt sends evidence of the liberation as well for the fleets to digest, though unfortunately the fate of the king is not yet possible to substantiate outside the clear taking of the royal palace. As she waits for the current enemy fleets to come to a decision, Simone accepts an incoming call from the connected Blunder's bust. Chuck's suit tracker was just picked up, Brandy informs. She's 15,000 meters under. Scratch that. 10. No. She's rapidly approaching the surface, likely in a ship. Reaching over to the Quipchap's console, she pulls up a direct scan and finds Chuck's signal as well. Once she brings the viewing scanner over the location, she just catches something breaking the ocean surface. Something that only gets bigger and bigger. That's the size of an entire station, Brandy says in awe, as the domed gold and pearl superstructure launches from the waves, causing the largest tsunamis the planet has ever known to ripple around it. Decide the future you wish to live, noble Callie, Chuknuk declares in a booming tone. Remember your honor, remember your past. Be who the galaxy needs and knows you to be, for war is now on its doorstep. Will you defend it and its people, or bring it ruin to an enemy that cares not for your people's fate? Never has there been a more important choice in the history of all our stars combined. Now is the time to choose who you are.